What's up, Mimi?
Up, how are you?
Good. So, let's see, we are a minute early.
Okay. This is oh okay, never mind. I guess I joined.
Would you like to start off by telling us who you are and what you do for work?
Yes, my name is Mimi. I am an acupuncturist, licensed acupuncturist. I specialize in women's health and fertility, but other than that, I also treat other issues like chronic pain, depression, anxiety, and emotional and hormonal imbalance.
What was your actual job title again?
So I am an acupuncturist. I'm a fertility specialist.
That one, yeah.
So that's basically, yeah, that's basically what I do. My clinic is mainly working with women trying to get pregnant or trying to regulate their menstrual cycle or just make sure that they're functioning properly. So I mainly work with women, but I work with men too, and I treat other issues like other things like chronic migraines and headaches and just general too.
Hip pain, trouble sleeping, trouble pooping.
That's right.
Those are all
Yep.
things you've helped me with.
The main goal of the acupuncturist is just to get you balanced again. It's just, us helping you get balanced and feeling more like yourself.
Yeah.
The fertility specialist is just a name, but really you're just balancing the human body.
Okay. What is, in a brief description, what's like the science behind that? Because I know sometimes
So
you'll
the
like
science,
you'll needle different areas where it's like, yo, my hip hurts, and then you're like, I'm gonna put needles in your ear or your forehead, and I'm like, okay.
I mean, well, if you know about like the Chinese medicine, and you see these pictures of a human body with the channels going up and down body, there's like different channels throughout your body. Each one of is named after an organ. Like they'll say liver channel, spleen channel, lung channel. So usually when people see that, they're thinking, "Oh, I'm talking about the physical organ," but really we're talking about the channel function. Channel function is different from just working with just an organ.
Mm.
For example, lung channel usually helps with respiratory, keeps your immune system up, helps you prevent getting sick, helps you breathe well, so that way you can exercise and have good circulation, right? But when we talk about the lung channel, we're not just working with the lung function. We're working with like the emotion behind the lung as well. So the emotion behind lungs is sadness, is the color of white. It works with the metal aspect of the element chart. So yes, so it works with the channels. But for acupuncture, how I would describe it to people learning about acupuncture and how it works, why would I put a needle here instead of like where it hurts? Basically, what I'm doing is I'm triggering the nervous system to do what I need it to do. For example, if you have like let's say leg pain, your right leg pain, and you come in for treatment and you have like swelling in that area or something, do you want me to needle an area that's in pain and swollen and inflamed? Probably not. You'll be like, no, don't touch me there. It's like very sensitive. So usually what I do is I use a distant channel point to actually treat the same issues of the leg point. So, for example, I can actually use your hand to treat your foot. If you think about it, the brain is actually two lobes, right? And
Yeah.
the two lobes, the right side actually helps function the left side of your body, and the left side of your brain functions the right side of your body.
Mm-hmm.
Same with the vision; it has that like vision where you're actually looking through your left is working with your right side of the brain. So if
Right.
you think about that, it's kind of like that mirror image, right? And so in Chinese medicine, we actually use the mirror image to treat issue. For example, your leg pain, I'll use your right leg pain, I'll use your left hand to treat your left leg pain.
Right.
When I put a needle in an area, I'm actually stimulating the muscle that I put it in, and the muscle actually has a nerve fiber that wraps around the muscle, and it goes back to your central nervous system and through your brain to signal, hey, stop sending pain signals, send more blood circulation to this area and help treat the pain.
Yep.
And so that's basically what we're doing. We're re-triggering the mind to do what you need to do and help you heal faster as well as heal yourself.
Yeah. Okay.
I know
Cool.
long, big concept, but really simple.
It makes sense when you describe it though, right? Like how everything in our body is interconnected and how blood flows and how we have like our nervous system, right? It is like a channel, right? You said channels,
Yeah,
where it's like a channel that flows through our body.
yeah.
And so I was always curious because as I like got more into meditation the last few years, I learned like the different mudras where it's like hand signs or just how you hold or position your fingers to assist with the meditation. And so I was always curious how it like if that correlates in some shape or form to like acupuncture where it's like you mentioned, right, you can treat your foot with your hand. So like as I'm focusing my mind on something, like what I guess what are the fingertips kind of correlate to in our body in acupuncture terms?
I'm not too sure about like the mudras, but I would assume that maybe they all come from the same source because most of like religion comes from the same source, right? It all start off good, and then same with Chinese medicine, it all start off from one root, and possibly it came from religion too. I'm not too sure, but the mudras, I'm sure each point represents a certain part of your body that you really want to function.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, like usually the thumb part right here is like the lung channel. Again, it's kind of to help with the emotion of sadness or sorrow
Okay.
or grievances. And so, if you are maybe, I'm guessing, depressed or lost a loved one and you want to meditate, I would assume that you would use some finger movements to help treat that lung channel, to help with balancing your emotions. Like, for example, like this is the large intestine channel, which is like the index finger going through your thumb and going down here. So, the large intestine usually is in charge of like judgment, kind of like some clarity. Because large intestine, if you think about it, is the bowel system, right? It helps you detox, let go of things.
Okay.
And so sometimes if you have like this grudge that you just cannot get rid of, like maybe someone wronged you or something, I'm assuming that you would probably use this finger and this grievance finger and this judgment and letting go finger, and you start to do this to kind of help balance your emotions and keep your mind clear.
Oh,
That's
okay.
just
Interesting.
my assumption. I'm sure like each channel has some sort of function, but I'm not too sure. I've never really played with it. But there is another form of like branch of Chinese medicine, which is like medical qigong. I don't know if you ever heard of it,
What was it
but the
called?
qigong,
Medical.
yeah, like medical qigong or qigong, is like
Okay.
the practice of your spirit or like movement, qi
Yeah.
of your energy, right? So you can actually, I know there's movements. I don't quite remember the details, but if you do certain sounds while you meditate and you do certain movements with your body, you can actually activate that channel and the chi channel to help you with something. Let's say you just got over a cold and you just cannot get rid of the symptoms, you would actually activate your lung channel with the qigong pose. Like there's certain poses that you do to help activate that channel, to open up the
Okay.
lungs, to help you breathe better. Um, so yeah, that's
When you
what I
said
would say.
there's like a sound you make or a noise, what is that like
Yeah,
a humming or like a chant?
it could be like a chant. Like sometimes they'll have a word, and then sometimes it'll be like a sound, like like the same with yoga. You do that
Yeah.
lion's breath, like where they'll breathe. I would assume it's similar. It's like ha, hoo, and then when they do this vibration of the sound, it actually vibrates the organ to kind of shake loose a lot of
Mm.
like the gunk that might be there.
Because then
Yeah,
it made me think of like monks, right? When monks are kind of chanting or something, and sometimes maybe
yeah.
they'll do something similar, or even they're practicing mudras, right? And then I wonder also if that ties into what's it called, like sound bowls and stuff, right? Where there's like a certain frequency that you want things to vibrate at to help assist with, like you said, if it shakes or vibrates an organ, a specific area.
Yeah, I think so because the whole point of it is trying to clear things out. Like sometimes when we go through like there's a lot of like obstacles and we hold on to a lot of things, emotions, traumas, um, that just is hard to let go. And so in the past, when you hold on to things, it can actually cause illnesses. That's why in Chinese medicine they believe like tumors and cancers actually are caused by stuff you are not letting go of
Right.
that got to the point where it got to you, right? Like it made you sick.
Like
you know.
the
And so
mental actually creates a
the
physical
mental
ailment.
creating physical ailment, yes.
Yeah.
And so I'm sure back then they actually created like meditations and vibrations, certain sounds to cause vibration in the body to shake loose whatever it is, to detox your body naturally.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Acupuncture is just another form, it's just a different branch of the Chinese medicine to help treat illnesses. But, you know, meditation, sounds, chanting is another branch of that medicine as well.
Interesting. All of this has just opened up more questions for me.
If only I know all the answers.
We'll have to get a like a frequency specialist, like a monk, a Chinese herb. Actually, you are an herbalist, right?
Yeah, I'm a herbalist too.
Speaking of herbs, what are some of the main ones you would recommend or use for your patients?
Well, let's see. It really depends on what they're coming in for.
Okay.
Like, yeah, like so. Um, I'm trying to come up with ideas. Like, let's say stress. Stress is always like where everyone's main focus is. I feel like a lot of people have a lot of issues with stress management. You know, especially long day at work. You have no way to like let go of things. Maybe something angry. You just come home angry, or you bring your work home in your mind, right? So how do you de-stress? So there's like multiple different ways. One is of course meditation. That's one way to do it. But meditation I would consider is like actually pretty hard to do. Even though it's the simplest thing, it's like trying not to think, just letting things go. But that's really hard for people who are so stimulated by like everything, right? Like
Yeah.
phones, TV, noise, advertisement everywhere. You're just so used to seeing something that if you're not doing anything, you get bored so quickly. You just kind of like, oh, I don't want to do this anymore. So you kind of give up, right? So another way is like movement meditation is where you just do something you like a hobby
Okay.
that makes you forget things, right? Like for example, gardening. People when they get into gardening, they kind of go into its zone. Other people like to do sports. They will do like basketball, ping pong. You know, those things are also great stress relievers. Exercise, another great one. But for Chinese medicine and for herbs, like I usually recommend like peppermint tea, you know, chamomile or chamomile. Um, those are also great teas that is so mild and gentle, but helps you relieve a lot of like body stress.
Okay.
There's like other herbal teas like dandelion root, which is known to be like very good for liver detox. And in Chinese medicine, liver is in charge of like anger and stress. So, I mean, like if you drink something with a little bit of dandelion root, a little bit of honey, you know, because honey soothes the, like, you know, when you're angry, like angry, for example, people would eat something sweet. And that just makes them feel so much better. It's like that Snickers
Grab
bar
a Snickers.
commercial. It's actually kind of true. In Chinese medicine, to relieve the liver, you give them sweets, right? Like
Okay.
to calm the general. That's what we call it. Like calm the general, give them sweets, right? Like you make them like feel happy again. So same with kids. If the kid is crying because they're all like so pent up and angry, right? You give them a sweet in their mouth, they become a different person. So same concept.
Okay. Yeah.
That's why a lot of people, when they're stressed out, they reach for that candy bar. They reach for candy and like something sweet to tolerate, like all the stress that they're holding, stress eating. But maybe other options is trying healthier sweets option like dates or like fruit.
Yeah.
Or honey. Those are also like all good options for like to tame the sweetness, to calm you down, things like that.
Yeah. So I heard you recommend a lot of like teas or like steeping of the herbs. Is that like the recommended and most common form of like herbal ingestion?
I think it's the most easiest for people who don't know what they want. And
Okay.
For stronger stuff, right, like herbs, medicines, I would recommend go to acupuncturist because each person stresses differently.
Yeah.
Right? Some people, they stress emotionally. So they're like crying or angry or like just very, you know, different. They require other types of herbs that are a lot stronger to help tame them down, calm them down, right? And then there's the ones that where they're like mopey and emotional and crying and just like doesn't feel like doing anything, just kind of in a dark room. That's a different set of herbs that we give them. Because if you think about it, Chinese medicine is actually not like one size fit all. it's made prescribed for you, for this person,
Yeah.
individual. Not everyone who has stress has the same symptoms or ailments, right? So we treat everyone specially.
Right. Right. Okay.
So that's why I don't really want to give like a specific herbal name or specific herb formula,
You don't want to
because I
generalize
don't
it.
want everybody. Yeah, I don't want everybody to try buying them and then drinking them all. Like, hey, this didn't work. It's because it's not made for you.
But Mimi said this on the internet.
Don't blame me. But yeah, it's saying like not everybody
Yeah.
reacts the same.
You have
So
to
if you
specifically
want something
diagnose the
prescribed for you,
individual.
yeah.
Yeah.
If you want something prescribed for you and your issues, then go to the acupuncturist to get, or herbalist to actually get it.
Yeah.
Because they actually make it for you, different dosage, different formula, different size. It's so different.
Yeah. That's actually, you and Aaron have done a great job of like dialing in when I come in for treatment, like what is ailing you specifically, what is going on, and then like different, even just like physical tests, like when you reach up, does it hurt there, etc. Right? Like you guys are great with that, which I think is actually
Yeah.
my experience with Eastern medicine has been a lot more effective and positive than like Western doctors in terms of they do, I feel like, generalize like, oh, you have this pain, like here's some pills for that, versus like, okay, like I know exactly what area of your body I can focus on treating with either acupuncture or cupping, and it has like an immediate effect on me.
Yeah. I would say like most people, they have like immediate effect. Some people require a couple treatments before they notice an effect. It depends on like how long you've had that ailment, right? Like maybe you messed up your hip for 2 years already, and then you're suddenly coming in for treatment. Don't expect to get immediate results that quickly. Some people
Yeah.
do, but most people, it'll take some time to get to that point where, hey, you know what? I feel pretty good.
It
There's other people, yeah, where they just recently got hurt, like maybe like last week. Immediate results usually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
it is based on what's ailing you too, right? Like if I need surgery,
Yeah.
then I do go to like a Western doctor. Like,
Oh, for sure. Yeah. If you need like the ER, you should just go to ER.
Yeah.
Don't come to us. We'll probably just send you to the ER anyway.
Mimi, I'm bleeding, I need herbs.
You probably should get some better help with that. But
Yeah.
yeah. But yeah, I would suggest like if it's something immediate, like broke a bone or like a blood vessel popped, yeah, definitely go to ER. They will help you with that, but we'll help you with the after effects, like the bruising,
The
the
healing.
cramping, the soreness. We can help you with that, with
Yeah.
the blood circulation, helping you heal faster. But yeah, don't come to us with a broken bone, please.
Question, mugwort. I know we've harvested some doing archery, but in terms of like Chinese medicine, have you learned anything in that area or that realm?
Oh yeah, like mugwort is considered one of the most powerful herbs ever. Like it's in the Chinese books for centuries. It's like a well-known herb that you could find almost anywhere. Usually in like a forest or like kind of a cool environment in shrubbery, and it will look like a normal weed to you, but actually, like you can tell from the leaves that it's actually mugwort.
Chicken
And,
feet.
I look like chicken feet, yeah. But basically, like mugwort's grown all over, and it's easily accessible. So back in the day, centuries ago, they actually used this herb for a lot of things. So they say it's like an herb that can treat 100 different diseases. I think that's a stretch, but basically they meant like it treats so many things.
Yeah.
The simple herb. So usually what they do in the past is like, let's say, they get a flesh wound from war, like soldiers.
Yeah.
They would actually find this herb, they will dry it and then grind it. So they always keep it in hand with them. And so they'll dry it or sometimes burn it and then kind of pound it to make this like powder. And they would actually put it on their wound to stop the bleeding and prevents it from festering. So
Okay.
like it's actually a very handy herb to have, especially during war times. Also handy to have for any intestinal parasites, digestive disorders. It actually works really well for threatened miscarriage. So a woman, is possibly miscarrying, they can actually take this tea to kind of help prevent the miscarriage. That's what they used to use it before. And they used to use it for like regulating menstrual cycles, or just like so many different things to be used with this herb.
Is that the ones you just listed? Is that more of as a tea, like you steep it and then drink it?
Yeah, as a tea, they steep it and drink it, like dry it out, steep it and drink it. They used to use it actually to smoke as well because it does have an effect to help with pain. But don't go like trying to pick it and try to smoke it. Okay, just saying that they used to use it before. They also used to use it like sage. It helps like with clearing out like the area of spirits and kind of clearing the space. They actually use it for that. They used to burn it as well in an oyster shell for if there's like a virus going on back then, like people are getting sick around them, they would just burn it in the air to have it like
to
clean
like
the air.
cleanse the air.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, that's
So
okay. I didn't know any of that. And when we went and picked it, it was because what we learned, or what I learned, was that it helps with like poison oak or poison ivy, right? If you come in
which is
contact
awesome.
with it,
Yeah,
like you take the mugwort and you grind up in your head and you put that on whatever you touched to help with
yeah.
the itching, right? And then so I have it at home and I've been growing it, but at the same time I went online and I bought some on Amazon, and the packaging was like, you can smoke it.
Uh-huh.
And so I've smoked it
Yeah.
several times where it was like I put it in like a Gandalf pipe and I'll smoke it like tobacco, right? And the
Uh-huh.
effect it had was actually, it reminded me of like CBD. Like you get a
Yeah.
very very calm effect. It doesn't taste bad. It's not like the best flavor either, but it's very herbally and it's very
Uh-huh.
relaxing and like kind of meditative. Um,
Yeah.
and then the main thing I read up on was like it induces dreams more. Um, and
It's
so I
possible.
haven't like correlated it directly with my dreams, but I do know I was like smoking it before I'd sleep just to kind of relax myself and go to sleep instead of alternatives. So that was always my takeaway. I didn't know about anything you just mentioned that is also good for. So I'm glad I have it.
I mean, yeah. I mean, it's good to have. It's like kind of like that first aid kit that back
Yeah.
in the old days, just grow it everywhere or pick it. Um, but yeah, it's known to be like a lot of effects. It's kind of within the same family of sage, so it has that spiritual mind body connection.
Okay.
So yeah, they used to burn it, and now we use it more for like in Chinese medicine to actually stimulate the points further. Like let's say I needle your whole body for certain things, and then I'll actually roll up the dry moxa, or we call it moxibustion, which is the dried form. It looks like a cotton ball of mugwort,
Okay.
and then we put it at the tips of certain acupuncture points that we really want to enhance in your treatment, make it like the highlight of your treatment,
Mm.
and then we burn it, and then it becomes like an incense. And what it does is it kind of warms up the needle and then brings a lot of blood circulation to the area to kind of help treat function or stimulate the pressure point further.
That's cool. Can we do that next time?
Yeah. Yeah, totally. Most people, what they would notice if they're very in tune with their body is like, wow, I can feel like my whole body warm up. It's like a wave of warmth going through the body.
Ooh.
Sometimes I'll even hear like people are like, oh, I could feel it running up my body. And then they'll be like pointing out where it's running up, and it's actually the channel that they're pointing at.
Oh,
The
yeah,
needle,
yeah.
yeah, where I needled was actually the same channel. And I didn't tell them where the channel was. So they're like, oh, yeah, it's running up to here and here. And I'm like, oh, that's the stomach channel. Or like it's like, yeah, it helped me with like clear my lungs because she was coming in for colds. It's like, oh, that was the lung channel.
Yeah.
So I do feel like the channels does have a connection with the needle. It's just I never really hear it until I burn the moxa because it enhances the function.
Then the patient feels it more drastically, where it's like
Yeah,
I
they would feel
felt
it,
the
yeah.
flow. Okay.
Yeah, some people would feel like more like their anxiety reduced immediately, like they're just like so calm afterwards, and they feel like they can melt into the bed. They're like, oh, that's nice. It's just like very calming.
Yeah.
So most people love it. Moxa or mugwort. Yeah.
So many uses. I had no idea.
Yeah.
I'll
I
do
mean,
that.
there's probably more. I don't
Yeah.
really know all of it. I know like in Japanese culture, they have a certain type of mugwort that they grow, and they actually have a mugwort mochi. It's actually like green mochi, and they actually eat it. It's delicious.
I need to make a note of that. I want that mugwort mochi
Yeah, it's like mugwort. Yeah, you just grow the mugwort, you pound it until you
into
get
the
juice.
rice.
Huh?
Into the rice.
Into the grinder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, and then you get the juice, and then you get the juice, and you put it in the mochi, and then you kind of it turns into like a green mochi. It's actually really delicious. It has that herbal taste to it.
Yeah. Ooh.
I just forgot the name.
We're, you know how like they do like themed like
Yomogi?
like
Yomogi?
Thanksgiving, Harry Potter Thanksgiving. We have to do like a mugwort day. I
Johnny
want
with mugwort.
I want mugwort acupuncture. I want mugwort mochi. We'll have some tea. We'll smoke it.
You know what? That sounds fun, actually. I'll join you for that. That's for sure. I'll try to come up with more recipes with mugwort.
That'd be
It's kind of
cool.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, good idea.
Do you remember my last session, the last acupuncture session, where
Was
I
at
was
your
like,
place?
yeah, when I was like freaking out?
Yeah.
Is that like a common thing, or like you want to speak on that a little bit?
I think like what was happening was I think you were just going through a lot of phases. Like something was coming out, like probably like bottled emotion that wasn't coming out. Like for example, I do believe that the body holds on to a lot of emotions sometimes that sometimes you forget what it was. Like some sort of PTSD. Like maybe you've been in a car accident and you just felt anxious ever since, but you don't relate your anxiety to that car accident. You
So
just know that you've been anxious.
this one
And
was right
so
during the when I dislocated my hip, so I was in
yeah.
like a lot of pain, and then I remember yeah, as you needled me up, it was like the physical sensation was overwhelming, whereas typically all the other sessions we've had, I'm like, it's very calm, right? So I feel like it was almost more physical than emotional. But speak on that more, like what you were saying. I cut you off.
Yeah. So like, I've had people where I needled them, and all of a sudden they just like felt like this emotion come out of them, or like just this sensation where it's like, oh my god, like almost like freaking out because they don't know what's going on, but they're feeling something popping out, and I'm like, what's wrong? You know, are you okay? They're like, I don't know what just happened, but like something just bottled up in me, and then it just popped or whatever, and then now they're just like bawling on the table, and I'm just like, what was wrong? Are you okay? I'm like freaking out too. They're like, I don't even know why I'm crying. Nothing hurts. It's just like this emotion just pops out of nowhere. And then all of a sudden they'll just tell me like the details of like, oh, my mother passed away 10 years ago. I was never able to like get over it. I'm like, oh, okay, that came out of nowhere, but maybe you just need to let it go. And then so usually after the treatment, they just walk out super like they just had a therapy session. But I think for you, I think like what was going on was you were going through a lot of changes in life. Maybe like you were kind of in mid pathway, and so I think it affected your hip, and then you were in pain for so long, so you're really tense back then too.
This is like a month ago, or maybe
Yeah, it was
two,
like a month ago, not so long ago,
a
but
month and a
yeah.
half. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that one. I actually, it felt like each needle point felt like a fire ant bite. It, like I think they actually swelled up, right? There was like not a hive,
Yeah,
I
it
guess
was
like
like
a
a
hive, right?
physical reaction, like you were just venting. That's what we usually call it. Like in Chinese medicine, we call it venting. Like this person had so much heat trapped inside of him that was making him like crazy, almost like you don't know where this anxiety, this anger, this emotion was this whole time, just bottled up inside of you. And then once we actually create a pathway for it to release, it's like a volcano. It just like
Yeah,
popped up. And
that's
all
what it
these
felt
like
like.
red markings come out of nowhere, but once you release the needle, it's like gone, and you don't even
Yeah,
notice it was there anymore.
yeah, it
So
did.
I've
It
had
didn't
like
stay.
people, yeah, I had people develop like a rash almost once I needled, and then they're like, I don't know what that was, and then once I removed the needle, it's like they felt so different, like they felt emotionally different too, but the rashes are gone within like 2 minutes after removing the needles, and they're like, I don't know what that was, but it never happened before in the same needle. So it's just each time you're coming in as a different person with different issues, and each time you walk out with different results.
Because a lot of
So
times
yeah.
we go to you for like a physical thing, not realizing
Yeah.
there's an emotional tie to it, like you said, where it's like the emotions can actually make us physically ill, and so sometimes it
Yeah.
is correlated, where it's like, yeah, you had a physical injury because your emotions were out of whack. Which
Oh
makes a lot
yeah,
of
totally. There's
sense.
always that connection between spirit, physical, and emotion. It's just everyone always thinks of it as separate, but really it's all tied in together. You know. And then so the way you're thinking, affects your emotion, and your emotion affects your body.
Yeah.
Right? And so they're all like tied together. You can't really think of it as separate. So that's kind of like how Chinese medicine looks at everything. It's not looking at you differently. It's like, oh, spiritually you're like this, mentally you're like this, physically you're like this, and we're going to treat you differently. No, we treat you as a whole because that's how you are. You're a whole person. You can't just separate things and try to treat it that way.
Yeah.
And so that's why we always look at things differently as a whole. Yeah.
The organ massage.
Oh yeah.
That was interesting. That was a trip.
So how did you feel after an organ massage?
I remember we were trying to do that to induce crying for me because I just had a blockage. It didn't have that effect, but it was. I don't know if the word's therapeutic, but it was like, you know, like when we get a physical massage for like our muscles that ache, like it feels good, but I have never had like my guts massaged. So that was like, it was a mix of like discomfort in the sense that like I've never had that like jumbled or like massage before, but also the sense of I don't know if it's relief, but like the therapeutic side of it, right? Like it felt good, but also uncomfortable because it was so foreign to me.
Yeah. A lot of people think that way because they're like, why would you want to massage your stomach, right? Like, why don't you get a full body massage? But if you think about it, like your stomach is, or this area, your abdominal region, has all your vital organs in there. Why aren't you helping them?
Yeah.
And then instead you're getting your neck and shoulder massage, but like it doesn't really have a lasting effect. So the whole point of this organ massage in Chinese is called like qi nei zang, right? It's like basically you're kind of massaging the organs so that way it's not as tight. Because if you think about it, like your motions really tightens up your whole abdominal regions, your neck and shoulders, your lungs, everything gets affected. Sadness also affects it. Anger also affects it, right? So everything in life does affect your organs. It's just we never really paid attention to it. And so if you leave it for too long, it can cause other issues. Like maybe people have like liver issues or inflammation here, gallbladder there, you know, a lot of things. And so with the organ massage, what it does, it loosens everything up, kind of puts it back in place, especially after giving birth. After you give birth, your whole organs are like messed up because then the stomach and the uterus actually went all up in the stomach. It pushes all your organs up here. And so after you give birth, do you think your organ's going to be back to normal? Not really, right? Like that's why like most women who are postpartum, they feel not quite themselves. Like maybe their digestive system's off, their bowel movement's off, like so, their menstrual cycle's super off.
So post-birth massage post-birth organ massage is highly recommended then.
Super recommended, especially when a body's been through so much. You know, it's kind of traumatic for the body if you think about it. And so usually the organ massage, what it does, it just relaxes your digestive system as well as your organs to kind of go back to its place.
Yeah.
And then not only that, it releases a lot of tension. Because if you think about it, most of your organs are all muscle. Like your digestive function's all muscle. It's all smooth muscles. And so yes, it can get tight. It can get inflamed. A lot of things can happen to it. Maybe what you're eating is junk. It also causes it to get inflamed, and that's why a lot of people have like IBS, you know, irritable bowel syndrome. And not only that, like maybe their emotions affect their IBS too. And so when they get this organ massage, it's like a reset for your system.
Yeah.
It's kind of like re-triggering things, releasing a lot of tension, and you can feel your body start to relax. Because if you fix your core, it fixes your whole body too. I've had people who had like low back pain, chronic low back pain. They go to the chiropractor, they do everything here and there, but they still have pain, and they're like, oh, I don't know, it's just always there. Maybe I'm just getting old. And then they come in for an organ massage, maybe for fertility reasons, and they walk out. They're like, oh my god, my back feels great. I'm like, well, maybe you're just tight in the front, but it affected your back. So it definitely has an effect, whole body.
Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna send all my pregnant friends to you now. Maybe you can massage your guts.
I haven't been doing much organ massage just because it takes a lot of time and not only that, a lot of energy. You have to actually practice Qigong in order to practice it, because if you don't, you're just going to drain yourself. And so usually I recommend it sending like patients to people who actually specialize in it. They're probably like so much better at their like meditative state, and they go deep in there and they really get everything going. So usually I recommend them to go there. But yeah, I can do it. It's just I'm not as powerful.
I do remember you said that, where it was like it's draining for you to actually do that, both in a physical
Yeah.
sense and like your energy levels, right?
Yeah. I think any form of touching, especially like massage, people are like really massage, they have to have like this powerful structure to them, but not only like they're physically strong, but mentally and spiritually strong too. Otherwise, they're just so drained after a day of massage. Like you get burnt out so quick. So
Mm,
there's people who actually specialize in like taking care of themselves spiritually, mentally, physically, in order to do this type of massage.
yeah.
Yeah, because it works really deep. It's kind of like a vulnerable area for most people. And so sometimes when you work in that area, you actually might get some of their emotional baggage too for some reason. Like maybe you start to feel sad after one treatment with this person. You're like, I don't know why I'm sad. Maybe it's like attached from that patient, right?
Yeah.
Or maybe this person was really angry at their husband, and then you're doing this massage. You're like, oh, why am I angry? You know, it's because you work with this patient. You know, it's very interesting how it worked out. But yeah, it's got to be mentally strong.
Yeah. One of the super interesting things I remember from like our first few acupuncture sessions was like your ability to just, I thought it was like take a pulse, right? And you put your hand there and you like get a read on what's going on with me, and you'd ask questions that were like super relevant to what I was personally going through, where it was like, yeah, I'm struggling with sleep, my stomach's been upset, or I've been dehydrated. And it was like, for me, it was, I wasn't sure how you knew those things, but did you want to speak on that?
I mean, like, I would say the first year and a half of like Chinese medicine school, you're just practicing on pulse taking, like
Mm,
just constantly taking pulse. And every patient that comes in, you just want to take their pulse. And then basically you're just practicing to be more in tune with reading pulse. And pulse is like a whole different language. It's like learning Chinese on steroids, right? It's so like you have to be so tactile. Every little touch is like means something. Every little beat or rhythm or texture of the blood vessel really means something to this person. Like maybe, you know, when they lack sleep and energy, you can feel like their pulse just sinks into their like
mm,
wrists. It's very interesting how you'd feel it. Or if this person's pregnant, right? You can actually tell because now there's two beats, or like the pulse is like as strong as two pulses in one. So it's almost like two beats in one, right? So that's how you can tell, like, oh, are you pregnant? You know, like it's very interesting.
that's cool.
So you can actually feel it, and you just have to be very in tune to reading it.
Yeah.
And yeah, the first like almost 2 years of school was just learning how to read and trying to see if you can get it right, right? And then the teacher would even test us sometimes. They'll just ask us to, you know, rotate and take this person's pulse, and it won't tell us anything about this person until after the pulse is taken, and then we get to question the patient, and then that's when we find out, like, oh, you know, have you been sleeping well, or are you eating well? You know, like that's how we get feedback. But you know, all this is learned from practice, and practice takes a while. But
Yeah.
you'll start to notice certain things. It's just like how a massage therapist works on somebody, right? If they touch you and they're like, oh, you're so tight here, like most people they won't really know because you have to go at like a certain angle, you gotta feel it a certain way, that's where you feel the knot.
Okay. Yeah.
And they're like, oh yeah, like your position's off or this is off. Same with chiropractor, they're very in tune with the skeletal system, right? So it's the same with the acupuncture. You just gotta be in tune with the pulse important tools to use to like read a person. Because then what my professor used to teach me was everybody lies. Everybody lies, you can't trust them, right? So, like, I had patients that come and say, I sleep really well. But then you take their pulse and, like, I don't know about that. I think you're lying. But, like, how do you, like, tell them, like, I think you're lying?
Yeah.
Tell me the truth. Because they don't want to tell you the truth. Maybe it's embarrassing or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
But you just have to, like, take their words as a grain of salt, and you kind of have to believe what you know. Like, okay, this person definitely needs to work on sleeping, right? So I'll be treating him with sleeping, but he won't know. Maybe he'll come back the next time and be like, you know what? Yeah, I slept really well the last week. I'm like, okay, I got it on point, right? So yeah, people lie, and then sometimes you have to trust your gut instinct that maybe this person's not going to tell you 100%. Like, I think all patients lie to their doctor somehow, right? Like, do you take any, recreational drugs? No.
Yeah.
They're like, I think you're lying. But yeah, like, they have to know that maybe, sometimes you have to read under the lines. But yeah.
I remember
Yeah,
one of
but
the.
basically,
What was that?
oh, go ahead, go ahead.
I remember one of the most like I don't know, impactful, or the one of the key memories I have was letting you know that like I had like an upset stomach, and then you needled me up that day, and I went home, and then I pooped like 5 times that day. I'm like, what did you do to me, Mimi? I can't stop.
But did you feel better after?
Oh yeah, immensely. I was like, I don't know how you knew, but you hit something somewhere, and it just like cleared me out.
Yeah. Some people just need a detox. I mean,
Yeah.
a good cleanse. But yeah, sometimes you just can tell, like, oh, this person needed to work on this. But Chinese medicine is different. Like, sometimes if I'm treating one thing, they tell me like, oh, I just have hip pain. I'll treat that hip pain, and all of a sudden they're like, that really helped my ankle too. I'm like, cool, it was a 2-for-1.
Yeah.
But like, I didn't need to, but like, same, the channel works differently, and your body knows what's best. It's going to take the messages and then try to heal itself anyways.
Or it's like maybe those ailments daisy chain, right? Where it's like your ankle hurt because you're. Yeah.
Yeah, so totally. I've had like people who come in for one thing, but they're like, that also helped me with my shoulder. I'm like, cool. But yeah, definitely, it definitely works out.
Yeah. How is it for treating yourself?
That's a hard one. Normally, I don't really treat myself. I think because it relies on energy. And so if my energy is like, I'm tired, I'm weak, or I'm like sick, and I try to treat myself, it just doesn't have the same effect as someone who's healthy and strong treating me, because I can feel their energy.
Okay.
And it's like a healing energy, right? Instead of me being sick treating myself, because I can feel the sick energy. It's just like a recycling of energy. So that's why, like, usually most acupuncturists, they have a hard time finding another acupuncturist that is in tune with them.
Yeah.
Because I think like we're kind of in tune with our body already, so we have specific like things that we want done. So, or sometimes we call ourselves picky too, and then like you have to go to someone who has the same vibe, same like style to treat you, and then you feel a huge result because you kind of know a difference, right? So usually when I treat myself, it's either through herbs, because that's next best thing. If you can't get acupuncture, you take herbs. Or you do like other things to help heal yourself, like Qigong, meditation, energy healing. That's another one that you can also do to yourself.
You said energy healing?
Energy healing, yeah. Qigong is like a form of energy healing, right? So there's 2 branches of Qigong. There's Qigong that you practice yourself, where it's like movements and meditation. Like the people who do like the slow movements like this, that's usually like Qigong.
Is it like Tai Chi kind of?
Tai Chi is the practice of martial arts, but in slow motion, but also meditation.
Okay.
So Tai Chi has like a rhythm. They have like specific stances and stuff that they have to perform in like a sequence.
Okay.
While like Qigong is like a practice of your own spiritual healing, or a practice of your qi cycling. And then they would use like more meditation. Like, it's all slow movements. You can actually tell the difference if you look at it separately, because they're just slow and they're in one place. They're doing movements like this. They kind of do this, and like, just like helping, breathing. It's just a form of meditation, very slow in themselves only. So that's Qigong, and that usually you practice to kind of get in tune with your body and your energy, and then use the energy of the universe to heal yourself.
Okay.
So if you imagine it, you're kind of like a tree, and then your feet is like the roots. So that's why they're always about the stance and your foot stance. because you have to
So,
imagine it as like
are you
roots.
standing as you do this exercise? Or
Yeah, you would be standing, sometimes sitting, but you have to imagine that your feet is very stable on the floor. Like,
okay.
the way you stand, it's almost like the front and back of your foot, the pads have to be at ground,
Okay.
and the toes are slightly curled like this. So that way the tips of the toes actually touch the ground.
So you're
And
trying to
then you
grab the
have to
ground with your
imagine,
feet.
yeah, like grab the ground, and root into the ground
Okay.
in order to tap into the energy of the universe. And then so you have to imagine like water is the chi from the universe going into your body. You're detoxing, but also getting new energy into your body. So that's qigong. Medical qigong is when you use like the energy of the universe, and you're just like a tool to actually send the energy into another person.
You're like the
heal
conduit
their
for
body.
it.
Do it for the person.
Okay.
Yeah, and these, if you watch, have you ever watched Avatar: The Last Airbender?
Y'all.
Imagine the water tribe doing movements like this, and then Katara, she does like the water healing. That's
Okay.
if you look at it, that's the physical form of qigong or medical qigong.
There's
You
so
use your
much like
energy.
practical knowledge in Avatar: The Last Airbender. Like,
It's when I watched it, it was before I even studied Chinese medicine, and I thought it was amazing, right?
okay.
But then I watched it again after finishing my Chinese medicine schooling, and my mind was blown because, in a way, they describe a lot of things so broadly, but so precise and so easy to understand. While I'm trying to describe to you like Chinese medicine, so much stuff, right? But then in Avatar, they describe it so quickly and like, oh yeah, the elements and this and that, this works well. I'm like, that's like an easier way of describing it to kids. Now kids can understand Chinese medicine too.
Yeah.
And I was just in shock because they did it so beautifully. Even like their movements are actually real martial arts movement, like Tai Chi movements. They do like all kinds of stances, which is different forms of martial arts. It's real. And then they actually got a lot of the thoughts about the elements, Chinese medicine, into a cartoon, and then tell a good moral story about it. I was like, mind blown. It's amazing. So Katara doing the water healing, that's medical qigong. So when I watched it, I was like, oh my god, light bulb.
I remember watching it. I don't know. I want to say I watched it after college, but I remember watching it just like leisurely for fun. Like, oh, this is a cool cartoon. Like, it reminded me of other animes where there's a lot of like lessons and like the storyline actually teaches you something about life. But then I remember also going back after having practiced different types of meditation and stuff, and like listening to, I forget what his name was, but one of the mentors for Aang, he was like teaching him. Was
he a guru? Like
the skinny guru dude.
Yeah.
He was like teaching him how to
super
unlock
deep.
the chakras, right?
Yeah.
And he was going through the different gates and how to do it. And as I'm listening, I'm like, that's actually how you meditate, and that's like, he's literally walking him through the different chakras to like actually. I was like, this is real shit that he's talking about.
It's real. Like everything that he said actually has a source, and it's like real traditional like chakra stuff, and even the thoughts and the morals and the lessons are like real stuff. So I'm like, man, this is deep for a cartoon. I was just like mind blown.
If only the bending was real.
I know, if only the bending was real time.
That's like the one thing,
like
that and like the
tribe.
creatures, right?
Yeah. It's so fascinating. So they really did a good job, like keeping it, within the culture and all the history and martial arts is super accurate. So I love Avatar. And they're cooking a new series too.
Oh yeah. Well, there's the Korra, right? His daughter.
Legend of Korra, and then they're revisiting the story of Aang and the gang.
Oh, okay.
But a different story, so they're continuing the story.
Oh, what? Oh, that's gonna be cool.
I know. So I'm like dying for it, but yeah, it's coming.
Nice.
Super excited.
My you remember my Civic? I called that car Appa.
Oh no way, that's cool.
There'd be times I'd like pet the dashboard and be like, yep.
I love it. Now you're gonna have the stripes on it, just like Appa. Oh my god, that's
Oh
so
yeah.
cute.
Back, I used to shave my head a lot too. I could have dressed up as Aang.
I know you have the arrow right here.
Yeah.
That's very cool.
Avatar. Yeah, I was really sad about the live action movie though. That didn't do it justice.
Nah, that didn't exist. That doesn't exist. I don't even know what you're talking about.
You just pretend like it was never made. If only
It
it were
was
that
never made.
easy.
Not a real thing. But no, yeah, Avatar was done so well. So yeah, if you want to learn about like the deep thoughts of Chinese medicine and like the culture, even like religion, you talked about like Buddhism and stuff.
Yeah.
It's all in there. They got everything in there. It's amazing.
Was it Uncle Jiro? Jiro?
Hero?
Is it Jiro?
Yeah.
The guy he was always drinking tea, right?
Iroh? Which one?
The firebender uncle, he was always drinking tea. He was always like spitting
Iroh?
knowledge too.
Yeah. He's also knowledgeable and very deep. All the stuff he said is true.
Yeah. It's like very philosophical thoughts, but like
Mhm.
I forgot what's his name. Zuko. Zuko's always so stubborn and
Zuko,
hot-headed.
Yeah. It's pretty cool. And then what's cool is like even the elements, they're like, the element tribes.
Yeah.
Even their mannerism fits in with like the characteristics of that element in Chinese medicine.
Like the energy within the fire, because then
Yeah, like the energy of the fire, but also there's types of people. Like we actually put them into categories. Like we would call this person a fire type person. We'll call this other person wood type, and another person water type. And there's certain characteristics of their face, their body, their eyes, their hair, that we would categorize them as that. And the reason why is because these type of people, they're prone to certain diseases or ailments that is opposite of their element.
interesting. So what would mine be?
Yeah. That's a good question. See, I'm not very good at it. But I do know that they know it. Like they definitely have books about it. And I've read through it, but I never really understood, like, still, how can I tell the difference,
Ah, okay.
Because it'll be, like, certain characteristic, like, their face would be very sharp, or they'll have, like, smaller mouths, or, like, wider eyes. I'm like, I don't know. Like, I can't tell the difference. But there's people who are called, like, Chinese face reading people. Like, they can actually look at you and then kind of tell your fortune by just looking at your face. And then they will actually tell you, like, oh, you're a fire type person because you have that face shape and then that eyes and then this nose or whatever, and it means that you have this certain characteristics and this personality. And then they'll actually give you like a fortune, like, oh, this person, he'll be rich later in life. I'm like, how do you know from just looking at a person? But there are definitely people, especially in Hong Kong and like East Asia, who make a living just doing face reading because they've been doing it for generations. It's crazy.
Remember when we went to Egghead? What was 7 pillar?
Ah, yes, the 4 pillars.
The four pillar reading?
Yeah.
I feel like that was similar to what you just described, right?
It's very similar. I mean, like, they all kind of come from the same root. It's just different people reading it, right?
Okay.
So there's multiple different fortune tellings in Chinese medicine. Well, I wouldn't say it's Chinese medicine. Chinese culture. So there's the 4 pillars, which is in Chinese medicine, Chinese called Bazi, which is like 8 characters, basically, under 4 pillars.
Okay.
And so the first top pillar of the 4 is like your element, and then the bottom 4 is animal. So it relates to like the year you're born, the month you're born, the day you're born, and then the time you're born. And each pillar of that represents a certain time of your life.
That's like what's it called? Like the zodiac? Is that similar?
Kind of like the zodiac. So like the first 4 that I was talking about, the top part is like the elements. It could be like fire, water, earth, and then you can have different combinations. Like you can have fire, water, earth, depending on when you're born, and it'll be like it could change. And then the bottom is animal, which relates to those elements at that time that you're born.
Okay.
So it could be dragon, sheep, I don't know, rooster, and rabbit, right? It could be like random animals. So you know how like even in Chinese culture, when somebody gets married, they actually have to take both partners' time that they're born, their name, and date, and then they have to give it to this fortune teller guy to actually read it and choose the wedding date for them, because they're looking at the times that they're born and the animals that they're born, and if they want this wedding to work out, they have to choose a harmonious day for this person to get married. It's like super, I guess, detailed.
Yeah.
And then not only that, even like funerals have to be chosen at a certain date. Like the day you move into your house has to be on a certain date. You can't just choose any day to do it. Otherwise, like I don't know what would cause it, bad luck, I have no idea, or something would happen to it. But they say like it's very important. So even in the Batsu reading, which is the 4 pillars, they would say like, oh, like in the years of like year 1 through 8, you know, you move around a lot, or they tell you like specifics, you know, like maybe you move around a lot, you have not a good relationship with your parents, or you have, you're not close to your siblings, you know, like very detailed stuff about your childhood. And then the next pillar would talk about like your mid years, like from, you know, when you're 10 through like 16, like, oh, you know, like you got in a car accident, you had surgery, you know, like kind of detailed stuff. But it doesn't really tell you a fortune. It's kind of like a guideline, like you possibly had some sort of ailment, you possibly had a car accident or some sort of surgery caused that, you know, like it's kind of detailed but kind of interesting in how accurate it could be.
Yeah. I
Once
remember
you have
being
the right time.
I remember being relatively skeptical, and then I remember the reading you gave me, the 4 pillars one, was like laid out by I think the next 3 months or so.
Yeah.
And then I remember like thinking back and remembering what you had said, and then reflecting on the 3 months, and I'm like, holy shit, that was pretty spot on. Like,
yeah, it's pretty interesting if you could read like detail, because then usually nowadays when people ask for a pillar reading, it's either for career, love, you know, or making some big decision like business stuff.
Yeah.
So actually they still use the 8 pillars and the facial reading in business in Asia. So let's say this boss or CEO wants to have some sort of connection with this other business, they'll try to chum me up with that like CEO, right? But how do you know what this other CEO likes? How do I charm him? So they'll actually look at this person's picture and then look for his birthday and try to figure out like, oh, this person likes to go to fancy restaurants and like to eat well and likes to travel. Okay, let me go plan something out that make him like wow him, and maybe he'll join businesses with me. It's like used a lot in business and also used a lot in like deciding big company ventures, like maybe should I branch out, should I stay local, you know, things like that. It kind of gives you a guidance but doesn't really foretell things.
Yeah.
Not always. Yeah. So yeah, it's still used today. It's actually very common too.
Okay, next time we'll have to do a reading and we can record it, and then we'll go back and we'll do another one and reflect back and see what came true.
See, the thing is, like, I'm not very good at reading, though. Like, I can only tell you, like, the basics, like, the bare bones of things. But when you ask for anything that's, like, specific, like, when will, you know, I get married? I'm like, I don't know.
The one you gave, though, was pretty accurate for all the generalized things we talked about.
Yeah. I mean, like, certain accurate stuff, I'll be like, it's between, you know, the next 4 years. So, like, yeah, I don't know. But, yeah, I'm not very good at it. I do know people that are, like, really, really good at it. Like, super detailed.
I think you're just being humble.
Yeah. More practice. That's what I need.
You said you need more practice?
Yeah, I need more practice.
I'll be your guinea pig.
Yeah. I'll do that. It's kind of fun reading it, too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was interesting. All right, well, we're almost out of time, but thank you so much, Mimi. This was a lot of fun. I enjoyed
yeah, of course. Time. Always fun talking to you.
I learned a lot this time.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to have to look up all the different uses for mugwort so I can, like, keep a list right next to the plant. Like, what can I do with this?
Make a recipe, you know, like, learn some recipes, and next time I come over, you to cook for me, right?
We'll have a mugwort dinner.
I think it'd be interesting, actually. Mugwort's pretty good.
I wonder, yeah, like you know how you put like thyme or rosemary on a steak. I wonder if we could like mugwort season a steak.
You know,
I'll
I'm
be
sure you
vegetarian.
do. I mean, like in Japan, they actually do cook with mugwort. Like the mochi I was talking about.
Right.
Yeah, they do that. They actually make mugwort juice, which is a little bitter, but they do it.
Yeah. I'll have to come up with some
Yeah,
vegetarian dishes for mugwort.
yeah. I'm sure there's a lot,
I'm sure, right?
and it
Yeah.
would use like perilla leaf too. That's kind of cool.
Perla leaf. Which one's that?
That's shiso.
Oh, okay. Sometimes there's like
Yeah,
mochi wrapped in shiso leaves.
yeah. It's
Yeah.
it's a type of herb too, but it's also delicious,
Yeah.
and also used in fun and stuff too.
Because I think that one you can actually eat. Like you eat the mochi wrapped in the leaf and you eat the leaf too, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
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 Not just for presentation, but also tasty.
I remember as a
Yeah.
kid I would peel it off. I'm like, I don't want to eat a leaf.
Little did you know that was a very expensive leaf.
Yeah. As a kid though, I'm like, nah, I'm not eating leaves, guys.
Yeah. I get you.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you again, Mimi. We'll talk again soon.
All right, good talking to you.
All right.
Bye.
Take care. Bye.